We may be working. I think we're working. Yeah, we're working. Let me get us in here. Johnny, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you fall on house slippers? What's your thoughts here?
Sorry, I was making sure audio was. What was the question?
What are your thoughts
Audio is
on?
working.
Oh, great. That's a good step into making a podcast. What is your thoughts on house slippers?
I was wearing a pair of house slippers not 10 minutes ago.
Have you always been a house slipper wearer?
No, just since I started working from home, and my feet
Yeah.
got cold last
Yep.
winter.
Yeah. As they
And
do.
I was like, I've had enough of this nonsense, and I ordered myself a pair of slippers.
I think wearing house slippers have
I'm
been it's you have to.
yeah, my feet sweat really bad, and so I have to wear socks when I wear mine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like a swamp situation.
You have
It's not
do you
good
have
for
like
anybody.
a fuzzy pair of house slippers?
Mhm. I like they don't look fuzzy, like they're not furry or anything, but
The
they are
the
quite toasty, and uh, it's better for everybody if I wear socks with them. Which
yeah,
I'm usually barefoot in my house.
I have like the traditional like slip-on thicker slipper,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have remember the shoe like the Tom shoes in the early 2000s?
Yeah,
It
of course.
basically it looks like a pair of Toms, but it's a house slipper, and I
I
like those a lot.
That's Tom's. Was one of the first things that I wore that I discovered that like, oh, my feet sweat like a problematic amount. Like I can't be one of those people that just goes without socks.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're not a
because
monster.
again, no, it's not good for anybody. Um,
Uh,
so
well, speaking of not being good for anybody, this is episode 295 of the Casual Hour.
yeah,
It is October 19th, 2022. Chase is not with us tonight. He is under the weather. We wish him a speedy recovery. I get one of you back, another one leaves. It's just
no,
we've been sick here. You weren't really sick.
yeah,
You just were on assignment.
I am a sicko.
You're a sicko.
And I do have, I don't know if you can probably hear it in my voice. I have a sinus infection, and if you're watching this stream, you'll probably see me blow my nose. I will mute myself when I have to do that, but I can't guarantee that you won't see me do that on camera if you're watching this on Twitch.
So, Johnny, let's talk a bit about
Yeah,
what tonight is. Tonight is going to be the dynamic duo,
classic.
the classic BJ lineup here at the Casual Hour, and we're going to be talking about video games tonight. This is a what you've been playing episode. We've got a lot to get through tonight. We're going to be talking about Shatterline, a game called Coral Island, the amazing game called Stray. We've got an update on the Warhammer 40K Darktide Beta, maybe a little spider heck. That's going to be on the front half with you and I. Back half of this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about what's up with G4, or maybe what's not up with G4. Some Bayonetta drama, TwitchCon drama, Simpsons, Gotham Knight drama. We got a lot of drama in the back half.
Was that Simpsons story just for me? Did you
It
put that in
was.
there
I
just for
put
me?
that in here specifically for you, and I knew Chase would get an enjoyment out of it. I think out of the three of us, I have an appreciation. I grew up with the Simpsons, but you all are way more Simpsons. I'm Simpsons adjacent, which
Yeah, you can appreciate its cultural significance.
yes,
For sure. Like any
uh,
90s kid.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Johnny, let's get into the games here. Traditionally, Chase goes first, but how would you want me to go? You want to go? What's your thoughts?
I can go if that's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, go
We're
for
gonna
it,
be
man.
talking a couple of the same games together.
Yeah,
So I was laid up over the weekend. Um, I I had a procedure done on Friday that required me to just kind of lie around the whole weekend, and just I got played a lot of video games and watched TV and stuff. And I originally set out for myself the goal of beating 2 to 3 games this weekend. We
it's
all know
ambitious for you.
that was overly ambitious on my part, but I did beat one game, and I played it all broken up over the day. Because Saturday I kind of I was like a newborn. I was awake for a couple hours and then I napped and then I woke
Yeah.
up and I ate and then I napped again and I woke up and so I played about an hour and so I put about 4 hours into it on Saturday and I think that's one of my favorite games I played
You,
this year.
you didn't say what the game is.
It's Stray. Sorry.
Yeah.
Stray is a game that you and I got with our PlayStation Plus membership. It's
Yeah.
also on PC.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's on Xbox. Is it on Xbox? Or
I
is it
don't think
just a
it's on
PlayStation
Xbox.
and PC?
I think it's PlayStation and PC.
It sounds right. 'Cause, I mean, I assume so because it was included with PS Plus, the
Yep.
mid tier. And it's one I kept saying like I need to get back to this. I need to get back to this, and finally I did. And I am so happy that I did that this weekend. It was just the right pace of game that I needed. Not too demanding, and it's just real pretty to look at. And I think one of the things I like most about it, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before when you've talked about it, is just the perspective that you have
Oh
in the
yeah.
game because you are this cat
Yep.
exploring this world inhabited by these robots pretending to be human almost, but they know that they're robots.
Robots
And
cosplaying as humans.
yes, and so it's a like a post cyberpunk kind of feel. Like there's neon and like the stuff is in decay, and you're just a cat and doing cat stuff. You're knocking over paint cans and maybe running into the robot, cleaning up the paint that you knocked off of the rooftop, and then you can leave little footprints. I
I,
I think I spent like a good 5 minutes just walking back and forth in that paint puddle,
oh yeah.
making footprints.
The other thing that you called out about perspective that like I think is important to note here too, and slight spoilers, but not only are you seeing the world from the perspective of a cat, you are also one of the only living things in
Yeah.
this world. And so you have that perspective, not only of like how you're viewing things, but also how you're being viewed, which I think is this really
Mm-hmm.
interesting. This does there's an unspoken, because these are robots. So there's an unspoken element to this game. And a lot of this game is there's very little audible dialogue. There's some reading that happens, and you end up having
Yeah. You
somebody
have
to
a
talk
little
to,
robot friend that acts as like a translator for you.
which is very well done,
Um,
by the way. That character is
yeah.
incredibly well done.
Yeah. It was a little moving in a couple parts,
Absolutely.
especially toward the end. And the whole premise is, you are separated from your family at the beginning, and you have to work your way back up to where you were. And it's so just your journey through this underworld, and you're seeing how this robot society is structured, and there's some parallels to maybe how actual like real human society is structured. um it's the more stuff changes, the more it stays the same, right?
It's
um
it's an incredible package of style, and
yeah.
I I was not prepared to fall in love with this game as much as I did. One, two, I was not prepared for just how much the vibe and the tone of this world is like my 100% my shit.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the soundtrack, I've listened to the soundtrack probably every week while I'm at work since I've played that game, because I think it's one of my favorite video game soundtracks that I've experienced. Like full stop, like I think it's one of the best. And I just cannot get over how well, like, even if this game was just a cat simulator where you're just walking around as a cat, that was it. And if
That
they
would
gave you
also be cool, but
it,
this
and
was
yeah,
so much more than that.
yeah, 100%. Like just being in
um
that world from the perspective you called out earlier is amazing. And I know I talked about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, but the napping points with the cat and how you just let it roll out with the music, it was just so good.
I took a bunch of screenshots from one of
Yep.
those, and it's so visually striking,
Hmm.
and the framing that happens whenever you're in those, as it gently pulls back,
Yep.
and you just see this world just going on, completely oblivious to your existence in it. And it left a mark for sure.
For sure. Oh
And
yeah.
I will probably revisit it just to hang around in that world a little bit more, just because it was so interesting, and because I was committed to finishing it, I maybe didn't linger as much as I could have.
Yeah.
But
Well, for what it's
like
worth,
it's
man,
not.
that game is on sale right now on Steam. And I don't
Mhm.
know, like, if you're planning on keeping your Elite PlayStation membership,
No, I'm not.
but you could grab that game. I think it's like on sale for like $20, and it is deck verified.
That's awesome. I know it's like 97% like overwhelmingly positive
Dude,
reviewed on
it
Steam.
like was one of the fastest this like in a few years, like one of the fastest, overwhelmingly positive reviews I've seen on Steam. I've gotten really
Yeah.
close to pulling the trigger there because I almost 100% of that on PlayStation, but
I mean, it looks really good on PlayStation, on PS5, but I know it would look even better
and if you
on our
got it on
PCs.
Steam, you could use that Garfield mod. Play as Garfield the cat.
There you go.
Now you're
And
talking.
that's now game of the year,
Game of the year.
Garf of the year.
I'm glad that you beat
Um,
that one. That was a game that I think could easily be overlooked, and it was a game that,
yep.
like, spoiler for December, planned on talking about at multiple points and
Yeah.
junctures. So I'm happy that you are
I
there too.
yeah. I also wanted to get through Sifu, but I was feeling I needed something a little bit more
You got C
slower
fucked.
paced. Yeah. So I do plan on beating Sifu and also
Straight's like the
Tunic.
perfect recovery game. You were
Yeah. It
too,
was.
like, mentally, you just weren't, like, Tunic gets it gets really convoluted in the best way, I think.
Mhm.
But that's a game that,
I
like,
played
you
enough of that game to know that I love it.
yeah,
I
you just gotta
just
be
need to
sharp.
see it through. Mhm.
100%.
Um, yeah, so that was Stray. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about this other game that I played, and then why don't we dive into Warhammer and Shatterline
Yeah.
together after
Yeah.
that?
Sounds good.
So a game that I had heard about through another podcast you and I listened to, the Next Lander podcast, called Spider Heck.
I've heard nothing but good
And
things about this game.
yeah, and I had no idea what it was, had zero expectations. I installed it a few days ago on my computer. I assume it's also probably out. Yeah, it's on the Xbox as well. I don't know if
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
on
it's on Game
PlayStation or
Pass.
not. Yeah, it is on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And it came out in September. It was made by a company called Neverjam, published by Tiny Build, the fine folks who also published Hello Neighbor,
Ooh.
my favorite
Hello.
game of all time. And it is a platform puzzle. Puzzle's not
Is it
really the
not like
right
a
word.
Super Smash Brothers clone?
It's not.
Oh.
Well, at least the mode that I tried. So there are multiple modes. There's a versus mode. There's a wave, like endless wave, and then there are actual levels.
Got
And
it.
that's what I was playing through earlier. I think I got through about 6. And you are a spider, and you can play with keyboard and mouse or controller. I was using a controller.
Seems like a controller game.
Yeah, I think it made much more sense to me with the
Yeah.
controller. But you use the left stick to aim, and you can hit A or the left trigger to shoot your web, and you'll swing. And the bottom of the level is lava, and if
Nice.
you can swing through it, but if you stay in it too long, you die. And on the
Naturally.
map there are weapons
Okay.
that spawn, and you pick those up with the right bumper, and you use them with the right trigger. And you have these other neon-looking insects. Like that's the other thing, because it really pops. It has a really bright neon
It's
sort of
kind of like
visual style to
Flash
it.
animation looking.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't mean to be degrading with that, but
It is. It's flat 2D
Yeah.
It's very simple design, but it stands out in a way that I really enjoy. So you're the spider, and there are these enemies that pop up on the map, and you have to grab items that are on the map and use those to dispose of these enemies. And there's 3 waves in
Is
each
it
level,
is
at
it
least
co-op?
so far. I think it does have co-op.
Okay.
Um, and like you can get, it's basically a lightsaber. There are energy weapons. There's a rocket launcher. There's one that I picked up that shoots like a energy orb that kind of bounces around.
Is there
And
lightsabers that I'm seeing?
yeah, lightsabers like an energy sword. There's
Man.
also a dual one like Darth Maul, and you can also control. It's kind of reminded me of like aiming with the Wii remote.
Okay.
So you use the right stick and you can like move it
Is
around
it is it like
because there
getting
are
over it with Bennett Foddy or whatever that game was?
not quite that complicated.
Okay.
The controls do take some getting used to,
Sure.
because like there's a lot going on. There's enemies flying at you, and you have to take into account like your trajectory when you're swinging. There are like gravity lifts that shoot you up into the air, and you can pull yourself down. The lightsaber, you can charge it with the trigger, and when you let go, you lunge in whatever
Oh,
direction it was
cool.
pointing, and you actually will like fly off the screen, and it'll count down until you come back,
Nice.
and you just have to dispose of these waves of enemies, and it's usually like 2 or 3. But they'll have like there's wasps that have almost like their stingers like a sword, and they'll aim it to try and block your attack. So you have to position yourself in such a way that you can touch like their body and it kills them. And then there are other ones that have like a ring of shields around them, and you knock them twice, and then you can get to them and actually kill them.
It
Um,
looks like this is on everything, by the way. It's $15.
oh, okay.
It's Steam,
Yeah,
Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and Epic Game Store.
it's awesome. It's really cool. It is. I did have to replay some of the levels several times, just as I was getting acclimated, getting used to it. And I think if I was smart, what I would have done, because the menu is a level. So
Okay.
you are the spider and you're moving around, and there's just sections like this is the co-op section, this is the versus section, this is the they call it I can't remember the name of it. I just played it like an hour ago. Anyway, like the place where you go to choose the levels, and you lay on these platforms, and like you after you stand there for a couple seconds, it takes you to that place that you are. And there's also weapons lying around. So really, in as you're walking around, it shows you like on the screen. It's like, hey, this is the controls for controller. These are the controls for keyboard. Um, it's actually a really cool way of tutorializing because
Yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
a main menu, and it lets you get used to like swinging around. And I like you need to play this game because it's
Yeah.
just really
I mean,
cool.
I got it downloaded. I'm a big fan of the Nextlander guys. They talked about it. I remember seeing that there was a beta at one of the Next Fest for this,
Yeah,
and I thought it was more of like a PvP, kind of like a platform fighter, kind of like a Smash Bros. But it sounds
yeah,
way cool, and I know it's on Game Pass, so I grabbed it. Looking forward to playing more of it, or playing it and then quick looking at it. That's awesome,
yeah.
man. It
There's
looks really fucking cool.
and it has local co-op too. Because I'm reading the description. It's a fast-paced couch co-op brawler where spiders dance to the death in the grip of Canic Bottle using laser swords, grenades, and even rocket launchers.
You can get also for anybody who's if you're not on Game Pass and looking to buy it on PC, it looks like you can get it for about $11.47 if you go to Fanatical and grab it there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, Spider Heck, check it out, especially if you have Game Pass. And
Hell
then
yeah.
finally, something that made a strong and also maybe concerned impression that we played together is Warhammer 40k Darktide Beta.
We've been
Um,
pretty hot on this game.
yeah, like we played some Vermintide,
Yep.
and it was fun,
Yep.
but I'm much more into the dark sci-fi motif that they have going on. I love dark fantasy, I love high fantasy, but for whatever reason, I never got way into those Vermintide games.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but this one looked like it was going to be like right up my alley,
Yeah.
and we got in there. We made our characters.
Yep.
The classes seem cool and varied. Performance, maybe not so much. I had 2 hard crashes,
I had one.
and you had one. And it seems like this thing just came in real hot for everybody. And you and I have like high end gaming PCs. We don't have the newest series of cards, but we do have.
Yeah, I mean those just
I,
came out.
yeah, right. I have a 3080 Ti. You have a 3090 Ti. We
Yeah.
both have good CPUs.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that our hardware couldn't keep up with it. It was just the game, clearly, at least the build that we played,
Yeah,
needs
this
a
was
little bit of work.
so they did a closed beta for the weekend. You could sign up
Mhm.
and ask for requests on Steam. And this game is supposed to come out. So we're recording this podcast on October 19th. This game is supposed to come out on, I think, November 30th.
Yeah.
And I was pretty flabbergasted whenever I would load into like even the loading into the level menu. I pulled up because I was like, man, this thing is looking rough. So I turned on the FPS, and I'm
Mhm.
not like super obsessive about that stuff, but I mean, I've gotten way more into performance after building a PC, and I will
Yeah.
say that like this again. I'm not saying this to like brag or try and get clout, but I have a 3090 Ti and I've got a like 5950 AMD CPU. Like I've got a very capable machine. This thing was running at like 10 to 22 frames per second whenever there was, and like this is also a game where there is a lot of enemies happening, a lot of enemies. It's
Yeah,
like
it's like
very,
Left 4 Dead style. Like there's
yeah,
hordes of people coming at you. Once I enabled DLSS, I got a noticeable
yeah.
bump in performance. Um, but like it still would chug,
I couldn't
and I
crack
had those
60.
crashes.
Yeah, like I turned off ray tracing. I put this down to like medium quality. I was playing it at 4K, but at those settings with with my machine, like it should have been playing more. And I'm not here to be
Yeah.
like I'm not trying to stir the pot, but I ended up going and looking through some questionable places, Reddit, Steam forums, and I'm not trying to empower some of the negativity and like just downright cruelty that happens in those channels. But what I will say is there was a lot of people who were very like interested in this game, excited for it, that walked away with very similar thoughts to you and I that like, hey, this is concerning that this game is this close to launch. Again, we don't know what beta we had or what version or what build, but there's a lot of people who had very similar experiences. And it's not only that, it's they would put their specs out there and there's people with like pretty antiquated stuff getting the same experience that we had with our
Hmm.
setup. So
Yeah.
I have to think that there's something with that build. I have not seen anything from the developer on this addressing it. My
Bet they're still like
right.
taking all that feedback in because they have to know. Like they're making the game. They know how it performs.
There, did you see that big thing when you loaded it up? They had like a splash screen. Like I've not seen a game do this yet, but there was like a big text on the launcher window. Please update your GPU driver before playing. And there was a
I think
ton
I
of
had that
them.
happen like with another game before.
So I was
But
just very surprised. And I'll give you like I'm not here to backseat dev or anything like that, but I will be shocked. I will be absolutely shocked if this thing launches when it's supposed to, based off of what I saw in that beta. And I say
yeah,
that as somebody who's really excited for this game. It's on Game Pass. We've been talking about streams and playing some streams around it. We are excited for this game. I am very concerned
yeah.
about the state it's in.
I was thinking like this is something I probably want to play on my Steam Deck. So maybe I'll just buy it, even though it's going to be on Game Pass. But
Right.
I'll be checking it out on Game Pass before I make any decisions, or at least like looking at reviews and stuff once they come out. So yeah, I like when it was running, I was like, this is awesome. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
what I got to play
but
is really cool. There's some cool
yeah,
classes. I did read online also, like we didn't spend a lot of time with Vermintide as you called out, but I guess that game has way more classes besides just 4. And there are some people
I bet they get added in
totally.
later.
I think
Like,
people are just a little bit, but I mean, you had Bubba. What else do you need?
yeah, Bubba.
Bubba's
He's
the humanoid orc. I will say this: if it's launched in a bad state, they will fix it. But unfortunately,
yeah,
there'll be some hell to pay from the community on that.
yeah. Um, and then the other thing that you've been playing a lot more of than I have, I just played the once
Hell
with you, and
yeah!
then I watched you stream some of it on Discord. Uh, Shatterline,
This game came out of nowhere.
which, yeah, how did you even hear about this?
There was an article in for PC Magazine, and they were basically saying, hey, this like Steam darling is or this COD, it's like got parts of COD in it, um and a few other things, but it's taken Steam by storm. And what really stood out to me was like it's a co-op shooter, which I'm like, all right, because like like I'll play some PvP stuff. It's not my favorite thing, but this is a roguelike um it's a roguelike co-op 3-player fire team. It's a kind of a character action shooter. So like you've got operatives that each have their own abilities. They've got certain grenades and other like kits that they can bring with them. But it feels like a roguelike BR co-op PvE experience where it's like a series of what are like Destiny public events that lead up to a larger encounter that then you have an extraction point where you
Hmm.
can leave with money and blueprints that you can craft other shit with. There's a contamination threat that is filling up, and once the bar fills up, you get a debuff put on you, and they throw something out there like, "Hey, enemy melee damage has been increased. Hey, when enemies die, they explode." Like they start to add in shit like that. If you do these events fast enough, you can kind of curb that meter and keep those things at bay. Um, but it's free to play. I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but it's a free to play game.
Yeah,
It does have a freebie battle pass, a premium battle pass, and then everything in the store that I'm seeing so far is purely cosmetic. So you are getting rare, epic, legendary skins that you can put on weapons and your character operatives, that is, and in the armory like Call of Duty, you're leveling up weapons. So the more that you use them, you're unlocking better perks for them. And then you can unlock further
you get
weapon
attachments
tiers.
and stuff too.
You get attachments, skins,
Cool.
all that stuff that goes onto it. And so what's cool about it is once you find a gun that you like, when you're doing the extraction, which the name is slipping me right now, that's something that starts with an E for the expeditions.
Yeah.
When you go on an expedition,
Yes.
you'll get options at these supply drops where it's like, hey, here's 3 choices, pick one. And so you'll go through a bunch of different primary weapons, but like I like this gun called the Impala quite a lot. And when I
20-inch
pick
blades.
20-inch blades, baby, when I pick that gun up now, it is loaded out exactly how I want it to be. It's got all the attachments, the skin. So anytime I pick that gun up, it's ready to go the way I want it to be. I want to hear from you on this too, but what I will just call out, this game caught me by surprise, but there is a level of finesse and polish to this because it's an early access, um,
Yeah.
especially in comparison. Like, we played a beta, okay, but this in early access runs so smooth, and the shooting is so fucking good in it, man. Like I am having
Yeah. It really
so much
took me
fun
by
with this
surprise
game.
how tight the shooting felt.
This game's
Um,
awesome. It's so good.
yeah, I recommended it to a friend today, who's looking for something to play. Um, and I've been bummed I haven't been able to get back to it yet this week because I did have such a good time playing it the other day. You got the battle pass for it, right? Did
I
you
got
mention that?
I got the premium battle pass for it, and then the other thing that I did, So this is also made by the studio is called Frag Lab. They developed and published it. This is a Ukrainian studio making this game, and there's a few things when you go in. So they've got a founders pack, which is a handful of skins for the operatives and the weapons, and then they have a premium founders pack. They're 25 and $50, depending on which one you get. But then they also have, you can get a weapon charm for 1,000 points, which I want to say that's like $5, maybe $10 that you can hang on it. And it's their studio logo. And then they have another one that you can get these badges to slap on the side of your guns. And those are basically like buy the staff of beer rewards. Like they're literally just there to tip the team or support the development. So I'm in it $35. I bought the premium battle pass, and I got the founders pack because I wanted to throw them some money and I wanted to support what's going on with it because I'm really into it. I'm on
Yeah,
their website really
and
quick, and I'm just trying to see if there is a roadmap. They have a really active Discord, but I don't see anything about roadmaps on like, hey, is this going to come to console? Will there be cross-play, all that fun stuff? I just haven't seen anything yet for it.
yeah, and I was reading one of the top reviews here, and it mentions, so it did touch on them being from Ukraine, based in Kyiv. They were supposed to work on it for some more time, but due to war, they lost their publisher and were forced to self-publish prematurely. So it sounds like maybe it was going to be in the hopper for a while longer, but they had to go the early access route. So
I will say that some of the stuff I've read, I've played one match. There is a PvP element to it. I think that has some of the like middling to negative reviews really are more around the PvP elements of the game. It was pretty sweaty when I was in there, but I'm not here for that. Like they'll even call it out like, hey, PvE is awesome, but you need to fix PvP. There's like no anti-cheat. Way too many cheaters are in there. But if you're looking for a game that you can spend like 30 to 40 minutes on a run with a few of your friends or just some randoms, it's really cool. And I would say it costs you nothing if you have a PC. Get it. It looks great. It
free.
feels great. It's so good. It's so good. And we got a quick look recorded. We'll be posting that in a few weeks for anybody who wants to check it out.
All right, Bobby, what is Coral Island?
Hey, speaking of early access, Coral Island is a game that also hit Game Pass. It also just came out in early access on Steam.
Oh, I see what this is.
you know what's going on here.
You're back on your bullshit.
I'm back on my bullshit. Coral Island is made by Stairway Games, published by Humble Games. It's $25 in early access, currently on Steam. I think it's on Xbox Game Preview as well. I don't know if it's Xbox PC only or PC Game Pass only. So this is a laid back, they call it a reimagining of the farm sim, but dude, this is very much like, I know this is easy to say, but this game is almost following the exact same blueprint as Stardew Valley.
Really?
But it is a very pretty looking game. It's a gorgeous game. And so it's like a 3D model. It also looks to be a very inclusive game when it comes to self-identification and orientation. Awesome. Like they've got like buildings that have like pride flags on it. So there's a lot of cool things here. It looks like there's going to be some, just like Stardew, some dating aspects to it. Farming looks to be really cool. It plays really well so far from what I've been checking out with it. There is a lot that you can do here. There's a lot of activities. There's even like not just farming, but there's like sack potato races and shit like that. Like there was quirky weird shit in Stardew. I have not done any of the combat yet, but there seems to be, much like Stardew, like a mine or a cave that you can go into, and there's going to be some sword play there. But I'm definitely digging it so far. Yeah, like,
and it is PC only at the moment.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think it is a bit of a dating sim also. Like there are right now, let's see, four. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's like 25 to 30 dateable people in this game. So I played through Boyfriend Dungeon, and a lot of the writing that I've experienced so far with the game feels very much like in that vein.
Same vibe.
Um, so I would say that, like, because I mean, Stardew's, there's a lot of relationships there. People took it very serious on like who they were shacking up with
Oh
and doing
yeah,
things. And so I'm not going to say that that's unique to this, but when if you go to like the Steam page, like there's definitely like representation, and like even like, hey, I like this person because they're more of a hipster. This is more of like an artist. This person's more fashion forward. This person's a bit more into like outdoor stuff. So like there's some cool stuff here, and I think people are going to have a good time with it. It feels like a very cozy game, and a wholesome game for sure. Like there's a lot here that I think people will absolutely dig. And
fuzzy.
again, man, like, just if I can get on this soapbox one more time for Game Pass and what's going on with game previews hitting Game Pass, I don't know what that looks like for a developer, but I have to imagine that they're probably getting more people checking things out in this state.
Helping
And
them make
yeah,
design decisions and yeah,
for
totally.
sure. So, if you're into things like My Time at Portia, if you're into like Potion Permit, Stardew Valley, I would say like even tonally stuff with unpacking. I think that if you liked, I don't know, Animal Crossing, if you liked
Mhm.
Harvest Moon, this is definitely your shit. If you like The
Same.
Sims, probably some
Cool.
stuff. So, Johnny, I would say download it, check it out, like just to see it because it looks really
Yeah,
pretty.
I I have it in my queue.
I think it would also be a very cool game to check out on the deck. Like, I think that would be a cool place to use like the cloud streaming and check that out there for sure. Well, it might not be on cloud.
Very cool.
Probably not on cloud. It's PC only. So you could get it on. Let me see if it's deck verified here on Steam. I don't know if it is. Anyway, that's Coral Island. And then I've been playing Warhammer, as we talked about, and a lot of Shatterline. I will also just call out, I've been spending a shit ton of time in Grounded, and a shit ton of time in Cyberpunk 2077, as I called out on one of the last episodes. So still playing a lot of those.
Very
And
cool.
to recap, we talked about Stray, Shatterline, Coral Island, Warhammer 40K, Darktide Beta, and Spider Heck. What say you about the news, Johnny?
Well, there's a fair bit of drama
It's been a
happening in the
dramatic
news this
week.
week. Yeah.
Yes.
So G4, you may remember, was relaunched last year,
Yeah.
and I I don't know how much we talked about it, but like it just seemed like a strange move to me, like to try and bring back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try engaging with some of the stuff they put out because I back in the day watched a lot of G4. X
100%.
Play was the show that I watched. X Play. I watched oh god, Attack of the Show.
Yep.
There's a show called Brainiac that was on there. That was one of the first places I saw It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And I lived and breathed that channel, and I have a lot of really happy memories around the stuff that I saw. That's where I was introduced to Adam Sessler,
Dude, I
who's
think anybody who was into
any
video games,
millennial.
any
Yeah.
millennial that was into video games is going to have an undeniable attachment to G4. Whether
Mhm.
you were waiting in line at a GameStop for something, or whether you were on TV checking it out, or early days of the internet,
And
G4 was like the shit for us.
yeah. And now, like, there's just so many other places you can go to get personality driven, like
Oh yeah,
video
dude.
game related content. And I wasn't really surprised when I saw this. I was actually no, I wasn't surprised when I saw that some people found out via tweet that they didn't like. I saw someone who worked there comment on Wario 64's post on Twitter, like, "Oh, cool, I'm fired." and this is how I found out. That's neat.
Yeah.
And it's always a bummer when that
There
happens.
there's
Like in
also
any field, like to find out like suddenly you're unemployed and it's just out of the blue.
Adam
Um,
Sessler's been very vocal on Twitter since this news dropped. There's been a lot of people who have been saying things to him directly about their disdain for what's going on, and
mhm.
he's made some questionable tweets.
Oh God. Okay.
And the
I haven't seen anything that he said.
I would go just peruse on there, but he's made some stuff about like, and look, I'm not saying that the people he's talking to deserve any less than this, but it is funny to see Adam Sessler like degrading people's mothers on rebuttals back to their thoughts on what's going on with G4. So it's interesting to say the
Come on,
least.
Cess man. Yeah,
Um,
it's a shame because people lost their livelihoods, and it's never great when that happens. And
I mean, dude,
I don't know. For this,
we,
I kind of feel like the writing was on the wall from the beginning. Like
yes,
unless they were willing to make like because it was I didn't realize it was Comcast, at least
yeah,
a branch of Comcast that funded it. So if they really wanted to, they could have kept going to try and figure out a way to make it profitable or
it's
whatever. But it sounds like because I was reading some anecdotal stuff from people who work there, like talking about all the money they drop on like having popular influencers and stuff come in, and it's just like I don't know,
it's
like it seems like it
it's
wasn't well thought out or
dude.
executed.
There's three things that I can point to for again us as millennials with video. I can talk about G4, I can talk about GameStop, and I can talk about E3. And all three of those things are in rough shape and having a hard time finding relevance. I mean, G4 just died again.
Mhm.
Sucks for everybody who's there. GameStop is facing a digital future that they're really struggling. I mean, they've converted over. I mean, most of their stores that are still open are only
It's just
half.
Funko Pops.
It's like Funko Pop and games. Like, and then E3 is also trying to come back, but they're also trying to be just a catch-all for what happens in those weeks. My point being is this: is that I think that in some of the final days of like the Giant Bomb crew that was there 2 years ago, they were making comments on, and I think even Jeff, when he left and he started his Patreon, Brad, Vinny, Alex, they talked about it on Nextlander. What even is a website? Like, why would you
Yeah,
even need like a website in general where you can do Twitch, YouTube?
do what
Like,
we're doing now. Yeah,
yeah,
it's yeah the Bob Dylan once saying
yeah,
the times they are a changing,
yeah.
and you have to adapt or die. Um, Especially with anything relating to tech, like it's just
Well, dude,
always
by the
evolving.
time you get like, I know that we need to move on from it, and like you'll agree with this too, but let's just look at the way that we get information. Like I
Mhm.
used to go a decade ago. I had RSS feeds that I would like load up. I had websites that were bookmarked. I would go to dig.com, spend a lot more time on Reddit. And I had these places that like I would have people who wrote out like blog posts or updates, and I would get my information that way. Now a tweet gets sent, it's passed around. By the time that people know what's going on, like why would you go create the graphics, put it up on your website, and have like links that you're sharing probably to Twitter to get people to go and read your shit? So it's like, why
Yeah,
even add that step that people don't care? Like they just don't care.
yeah, it's the old way of doing media. I feel like is only surviving because of people like our parents, and so
Yeah.
like
I mean,
that's
even this show, dude, for a while when we had an actual website, we tried to do some written content, which was really well written, I thought. I think you and Chase did, I never wrote shit. You and Chase did a great job. But it's also that situation of like, is that what
Prince is
people
dead.
want from content? Anyway, G4, that it stings, just because it was something that like I didn't follow in its reincarnation, but definitely have a lot of fond memories with.
Yeah.
But
Um,
there's more good news though, right? You got good news for us, right?
yeah. So I don't know if you followed what has transpired. I think yesterday. and it may be today with this story,
There's
but
been some updates.
new shit has come to light. Uh, so the I didn't even realize that. So we're talking about Bayonetta 3.
Yep.
The original voice actress, Helena Taylor, who voiced the Bayonetta in Bayonetta 1 and 2, posted a video over the weekend, claiming that she was only offered $4,000 as a flat rate to work on Bayonetta 3. She said, "This is an insult to me for the amount of time it took to work on my talent and everything that I have given to this game and to the fans." And she asked people to boycott the game.
Said that give your money, which again, that's nice. Give your money to charity.
Yeah. And as you can imagine, there were plenty of reactions and takes that happened over the weekend. Someone who works at the studio, I can't remember the guy's name, but English was clearly not his first language.
Sure.
He released a very inflammatory tweet and then temporarily deactivated his account. Jennifer Hale put out a statement saying, I can't say much because I'm under NDA, but I am someone who has fought, time and time again for voice actors, because it is a problem, for voice actors in games and anime and other media that requires voice acting to not be as well paid as a regular actor,
right?
And so where this call gets kind of twisted, because they're bringing up valid points, but also we're just getting one side of the story, and maybe they just when Kojima made Metal Gear Solid 5, they went with David Hayter instead of I'm sorry, David Hayter is the original voice actor. Kiefer Sutherland is who they got for Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
And he wasn't even approached about doing it, but he still wished them well. That is its own separate story, but it happens. Even in other creative parts of film, whatnot. For one reason or another,
you do this, no problem at all.
Someone's we're not bringing this person back. So Jason Schreier, a Bloomberg, and then I can't remember the guy's name, but someone at Video Game Chronicle also substantiated this on their own. Says that the original voice actress was offered between $3,000 and $5,000 per session for 4
to 6 sessions.
Yeah, so they would have been paid at least $15,000 to do the voice. Not saying that that's enough to for being the voice of the protagonist of a game that is going to go on to make tens or hundreds of millions of dollars for.
I think that they were expecting a 6-figure paycheck.
What's that?
I think they were expecting a 6-figure paycheck.
Yeah, and that is just not going to happen. With a game especially with a game like Bayonetta, that I think Bayonetta 2 sold around or a little less than 1 million copies, which
on the Switch
is a lot, but for a console exclusive.
People are Switch exclusives. Yeah. They get fucking thirsty for.
Yeah,
it. People go crazy for those.
So it's a complicated mess, and I don't think that this this woman didn't do herself any favors by making these posts, and I agree, voice actors should be paid more, but it sounds like she wasn't being completely honest with what she says was offered to her.
It seems very. This is not going to sound great. It just seems a little dramatic, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but to state something with a call to action for a boycott when you're clearly saying that this is what they were going to pay me,
and then a journalist, sees the receipts saying Correct. No. And Jason Schreier is someone who, one of his big things is reporting on
He's all
situations
about,
just
yeah,
like this. Like
yeah,
he's not someone who is like, union bust and all this stuff. Like he is someone who's very actively pro worker. He has done exposés on the treatment of people at other studios, and like when he says something, I generally take him at his word, because he has a proven track record, and he doesn't strike me as the type of person that would go against the word of that's just like a regular person. He doesn't strike me as the person that would side with the company just
totally.
because this is what the company's saying. So it's a shitty situation. And Jennifer Hill, she put out another post, I think, since then saying like, the shows there are two sides to every story, and she does not strike me as the type of person, based on what I know about her and her past with trying to secure better pay for people who are voice actors, that would automatically side with the company, like
Right.
supposedly screwing over uh, a voice performer. So
For sure. It'll be interesting to see
uh,
how I'm sure it'll be ongoing for a little bit
yeah, we'll
longer on how
see.
that
We'll
plays
see
out.
how it unfolds. Bayonetta comes out this
To
week,
like
next
the
week.
20, yeah, next week.
So I hope that game's great. I know
Are
that
you getting
people
it?
no.
Yeah.
Uh, I appreciate those games for what they are, but
Character
those
action games are
characters,
just not my thing.
it's just not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played a little bit of Bayonetta 1 and 2, and I see the appeal there. I think, like, style wise, like, they're outstanding, but it's
Yeah.
just the same reason that I bought Devil May Cry 5, and I was like, this is really cool. And then I played it for like 2 hours, and then I never touched it again. It's not
Yeah.
because I disliked it. It's not quite my tempo.
That would be a good, those are good rental games back in the day.
Yeah. Um,
More good news, right? You got more good news for me?
oh my gosh. Um, at TwitchCon, uh, they had this foam pit that wasn't actually a foam pit. It was foam cubes stacked on top of, sounds like a concrete pad.
It was
And
not a very deep. It was a shallow area. And again, like
yeah,
I think this was Lenovo, if I'm not
mhm.
mistaken. It was not
But it was at
Twitch.
TwitchCon.
It was at TwitchCon. This was a Lenovo foam pit.
Yeah, and Adriana Chichik, a Twitch streamer, has 802,000 followers on Twitch, broke her back in two places and had to have metal support rods surgically inserted
I
into
watched the
her back.
video. She
Oh, it's
basically
rough.
she basically like does like a cannonball into it. And
Yeah,
again, I
when
don't
she
know,
like can't get up, and you're like, oh, this is
but
bad.
this is dude. There was multiple injuries. They shut this thing down.
Yeah, someone dislocated their knee and sprained their ankle. People have had back pain, difficulty walking, and it's
Dude,
just that's
I don't know how
that
like
was.
I don't handle like I've never been able to watch like skate accidents and shit like that. Like I
Mhm.
just can't watch like football. Like I just can't watch injuries.
Yeah.
And knowing like especially I am always been super cautious of like this does not look like it will end well for me.
Mhm.
And I think that people probably like I'm not saying that anybody's at fault. Like they like you should have known better. You got what you deserve. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there's so many variables here that you could have scanned and been like, I don't know. But at
Yeah.
the same
Like
time,
I have been to places that have actual foam pits, and they're a lot of fun because you can just
yeah,
jump into it, and it's like 5 feet of foam cubes, so you're gonna be okay. Uh, but this is just, it's one of those things that like you do it thinking, oh, this is gonna be fun, and then you break your back in two places.
I think she's
Um,
recovering.
yeah,
I will
I've been
all
following the story a little bit, and she's talked about like her physical therapy, and uh, yeah, I wish her a speedy recovery. That she's
there
probably
has
gonna have
been
back pain for the rest of her life. Like
there's
that's
also been some very again, you know, the internet. There's been some not great things said about people who got hurt in this pit.
yeah.
Fuck you, first of all,
Hmm.
for and I just hope that there's going to undoubtedly be lawsuits here and
Yeah,
accountability, as there should be. Like
it
this
just
would,
sounds like negligence. Like,
dude. Like I mean, it's when you were a kid and you would go to like a theme park and you'd ride a
yeah,
ride, like you didn't think much about it. But like
no,
as I got older and I was looking at it, like dude, there was like fucking tweens sending people on roller coasters to check
yeah,
everything. And like if there was somebody working this pit, like I don't know what regulations they had there for them. It just sounds fucking rough. But Johnny, I think there is a little light at the end of this news tunnel here.
yes. Uh, so The Simpsons permeates everything. Like
Yeah.
it is extremely influential. It's been around forever. I would argue too long. Uh, and back in the '90s, it made fun of a movie called Waterworld, which kids, if you're unfamiliar with that, was this
Rough.
god awful movie with Kevin Costner and fuck, what's his name? Hold
Uh
on, Dennis Hopper as the back. He's so great.
yes.
He can make a turd sandwich like Waterworld be okay because he's just chewing up the scenery. But they made a fake video game in that Simpsons episode episode of Simpsons called Kevin Costner's Waterworld, and somebody went out there and made a freeware PC version of it. And I have not taken the time to play it yet, but just the mere fact that it exists makes me so happy. And I didn't someone make Lee Carvalho's putting challenge as well?
Yes.
Uh, so it's just this is great. I love this so much.
I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are on it when you get a chance to check it out.
Yeah, and the whole like it was they put the coins into the arcade machine. It takes a step over to the right, and it says game over. Like it just was as bad as the movie. It's man, so
That's
good.
that's funny.
Finally, this has been a topic of hot debate between you and I, and a friend of the show, Jason. Uh, Gotham Knights. So you, Bobby, and I assume Jason too, massive fans of the Arkham games.
Arkham games, Batman in general. I have
Yes.
a Joker
Yeah,
tattoo.
we
Like
love
I'm into it.
Batman. Yeah. So Gotham Knights,
I mean, you're sitting in a Batman chair.
I am. Yes. And Gotham Knights is a game not featuring Batman, but you described it as Diablo, but with Batman characters.
Kind
to
of,
me.
yeah. I mean, like it's like it's Arkham Combat, but it's like a loot-driven kind of build-based game, from what I'm reading on this.
Yeah, and this got announced last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, they showed off Batgirl, Red Hood, Nightwing, and
Mhm.
Robin.
And the developer came out and confirmed on the 15th that this
The
game,
15th of October, when this game launches
yes,
on the 21st of October.
yes, that it will run at 30 frames a second on Xbox Series X, S, and PS5. There will be no performance mode offered, which has become kind of the norm,
Right.
especially as we have these like half step and like mixed generation consoles, and also like they even axed the previous gen versions of these to focus solely on the PS5 and Xbox Series versions of these. And
Yeah.
there's been a lot of discourse on the internet about this. One of the devs called the Series S a potato.
Dude, and I will also say, like,
That's what they're blaming it on. Like,
yeah, like, first of all, sorry to cut you off, but I'm pretty heated about that because they're claiming that the Series S is what's gating developers from being able to, because they have, like, Microsoft says it has to run and work on everything that we put out, Series S and X, which are vastly different devices. There's performance FPS boost modes on games for the X and the S that they've been working on. It can run at 60. It
It can run
absolutely
at
can.
60 at 1440.
Yes. That's nothing. I mean, like,
So
there's like PCs that can't do that.
yeah, and it's just I don't know. Like it feels like the writing is on the wall in a lot of ways for this game, and like I'm not invested in it. I wasn't going to be picking it up anyway, but I know that you and Jason and like a lot of other people probably that have been waiting for a new.
Jason,
Because this is Rocksteady, right?
no, it's one of their others. I think this the studio that made what was the one Arkham game that was really, it was the Arkham Origins that was rough.
Oh yeah,
I think it's that. I might be wrong. I think it's that studio. What I'll
it's
call
W
out too,
Games
man.
Montreal.
All right. So Jason and I, we do game share on PlayStation, as my cousin and I, and we usually go halves on games that we're into, that especially co-op games, because that's a chance for us to play it. And I was like, hey man, like, let's just look at this. And traditionally, when he throws me money, like, I immediately just go and buy the game. That way, the money's moved and goes where it needs to go. Something in my gut told me you should hold off on pre-ordering this game because it's harder to get refunds on PlayStation, and Steam makes it very easy if there's a problem with the game. So I was like, Jason, hey, I got your money. I'm going to hang on to it. I'm researching like what version of the game I want to get, if we want to get like a deluxe, but also like I want to hear more. I want to see more about it. And Jason, I remember there had been some Reddit rumblings that this game was going to run at 30 on console. He's like, dude, I'm hearing some stuff about the game's performance on console. I don't want to do 30 on PlayStation. I'm like, yeah, like that makes sense. He's like, I'm going to grab it on PC. I'm like, all right, well, pick it up. I'll probably do the same thing, but I'm going to still wait and see. Like, I don't trust this.
Yeah.
And here we are now, just days before this game comes out. By the time you're listening to this on podcast, the game's out. And I will just say that I am not planning on picking this game up unless I see some really positive reviews, because I think the PC version, they say, will run at a higher performance, 4K 60, all that fun stuff, which is where I'll pick it up. But I went from being incredibly excited about this game to being probably like on the fence to then saying, not going to pick it up. So we'll see.
Looks like the embargo lifts tomorrow, so we'll get reviews tomorrow.
Yep. And I know like a lot of people wait till the day before, but I mean, I think that like Mario and Rabbids, that game comes out on the 21st as well. A lot of reviews for that. Shit. November 3rd, people are playing God of War right now. November 3rd, we're going to get reviews for that game.
Yeah.
I just think that like it's always interesting when you
there's some warning signs for this one.
All right, Johnny, we got through the news. Let's wrap this show up and talk about the week that we've had here. It's been a fun week, and I have not updated our schedule with the right one. Let me do that really quick. But I can tell you that we've had a few things happen this week. Chase and I on Monday night did play Moonbreaker, which is a game that I'm digging quite a bit. We did a couple of tabletop matches and hung out. It was a good time. And that was our Casual Monday stream. We also have a quick look that went up on Tuesday for Shovel Knight Dig. That's one that you and I recorded, and that's a very cool game. Tonight, a cool game. We told you all about those fun games that we are playing. And tomorrow, a game that I'm also enjoying quite a bit is the PGA Tour 2K23. And we've got a quick look for that going up. And on Friday, unless we get a wild hair, I think we're going to be playing some Overwatch 2 with Chase as well. So that is the that's the week. I will also call out, because I am a true sicko, I have mapped out our content basically up until January of 2023, and I've got quick looks kind of mapped for the games that are coming out the rest of the year. I think most of November, like the rest of October, most of November, we've got a good plan in place for Casual Fridays. Not so much yet for Casual Mondays, because Chase is getting a PC, so there might be some more games that we can play together. But we got like 6 or 7 episodes left before Game of the Year time, and the weight of that's kind of hitting me and making sure that we're in a good spot. So a lot of stuff planned for the next several weeks. Go ahead and call it out now. We got a little bit of time, but we're going to take the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas off like we do every year. But we will have content going in and out before then. Johnny, anything that you want to call out you've been doing?
Just taking it easy this week, man. Recovering.
Okay. Fair.
Dealing with this sinus infection.
Well, rest up, feel better. Chase, feel better. We will be back right here on Twitch Friday night at 10:30 p.m. Central. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll chat with you all soon.